Keeping in mind that number 18 is asking for the range of a function, they're asking for the y values that it covers. Now, on your exam, you're going to have graph paper, so I've included this here so you can graph it if you want to. I'm going to go with the graphing calculator first, though, and I'm doing this just to kind of prove a point. I'm assuming you know how to graph the top part, the x minus 4, but we're going to go with it anyway. So y equals, let's clear out anything we have, and we'll put x minus 4, and just for good measure, just in case you need to, make sure your scatter plots are off, and they are. So let's hit zoom 6, that's the standard window, and all we really care about for this is what happens between 0 and 2. Now, we know that this has a y-intercept of -4 and a slope of an understood 1 right here, so it rises 1 and it runs 1, rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, and it starts at -4 on the y-axis. Now, again, keep in mind this only exists from 0 to 2. And I'm going to use the graph over here on the side to graph that. Actually, the entire thing starts at 0, and so it's tempting sometimes to put your axes in the middle. But in this case, we're going to start at 0, so I'm going to put my axes on the far left. Put my ruler down, and there's going to be my y-axis, and somewhere in the middle I'll put my x-axis. Somewhere right there, I guess. Okay, now let's stop and think about this for just a second. We're trying to graph this thing so we can tell what y values it covers. We're looking for the y values. And we're going to graph one little piece at a time. So x minus 4, and we know it does this, but we're not going to graph that entire thing. We're only going to graph it from x values here. From 0 to 2. So from 0 to 2, only that little piece right in there. And it starts at -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It does include that point where x equals 0 and y equals -4, at that coordinate right there. And the slope is 1, so rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, and we'll put another little dot right there. Not too big of a dot, because that is an open circle. Okay, so far we've graphed that one. Now let's graph the middle one. Y equals, and let's see, x squared minus 3x plus 4. And we'll press graph. Now, as we're watching this graph, keep in mind the only part we really care about is what happens between 2 and 4. So if you need to see this a little bit better, you can press Window and adjust your x values to go from 2 to 4. So from 2 to 4. Here we go. Interesting. And so we know it's a slight curve between 2 and 4. And it starts at, let's press trace. We'll kind of slide it around here. Hey, you want a shortcut? If you press trace and then type the x value that you want, I want to know what happens at 2, and press enter, it'll go there. So when x is 2, y is 2, for this middle section right here. So there is a dot at 2, 2, and it is a filled in circle, see? Now when we get all the way over to 4, I'm going to press the number 4, hit enter, and it goes all the way up to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It goes all the way up to 8. It is an open circle. There we go. And so that's what that section of the graph looks like. Now obviously this one is stretched out a whole lot more than that one. Excuse me. There we go. We've graphed that one. And now we're going to graph 5. No x in there whatsoever, we're just going to graph 5. So if we were to draw this entire thing all the way across, then we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it would go zoom. But it actually just starts here at 4, and it goes to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. Okay, we just graphed this. with the intention of finding the range. We want to know what y values it covers. Okay, let's look at this for a second. It covers these y values right here. It doesn't cover any y values here, but it does from here to here. And that little part in there is included. See, that is the value 5. The y value is 5, and there's a 5 included in this. So it matches up with that. So this part is already covered within that. But basically, we have a gap here. So this goes from 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes from -4 to -2. Now, one of the things I haven't shown you very much would be the best way to write this, and it does not include a -2. It does not include -2, so it would be a parenthesis. And like I said, I haven't really shown you that. If it does include something, you don't put a parenthesis, you put a bracket. It looks like a funny way of writing a coordinate, but it's not a coordinate, it's an interval. This section right here, let's see, 1, 2, it goes from 2 all the way up to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It goes all the way up to 8. It does include 2. That would be a bracket. It does not include 8. And again, this 5 coincides with the 5 that's already here, so that y value is already covered. Now, at this point, you can probably get a good idea about what the answer is. Obviously, it's D, but let me explain what this means. This is union. In other words, it's this part, and we put them together. And the technical word for what happens there is the word or, not necessarily in the sense of probability like we've dealt with in the past. But if we're going to pick a random y value, we could pick from this interval or this interval. That's what that really means.